Coming to you from the St. Louise de Marillac Youth Ministry Office, we present to you the MassTube Project, a weekly podcast about the Sunday readings and other current Catholic stuff. I'm your youth minister, Juliana, bringing you lectionary and living, guidance, geekery, and guitar hero. If you're going to Mass this weekend, and you should, here's some stuff you need to know. Today we will cover the readings for the first Sunday in Lent, February 10, 2008. There's a theme to today's readings, as there so often is. We find it summarized best in today's second reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. For just as through the disobedience of the one man the many were made sinners, so through the obedience of the one the many will be made righteous. Or basically, Adam versus Jesus. See, as Catholics, we read the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, with a kind of Catholic lens. We know that there's a lot to learn from the Old Testament in its own right, but we get that much more out of our Scripture study when we use it to learn more about the Gospels. This weekend is a good example. God created Adam and his wife Eve so they could look after the garden, its creatures, and one another. They only had one simple rule to follow, and they broke it. Eve looked back and forth between temptation and her conscience and thought, I know there will be consequences later on, but I'm going to do what I think is best for me. So God removed them from paradise. He gave them an opportunity to demonstrate that they were sorry and that they really loved God, and he took some things away from them. 1. No more free food. In the garden, they could eat all they wanted, just walk up to any tree and eat. 2. No more protection. In the garden, they were safe from all kinds of dangers. 3. No more honor and glory. There are some perks to being God's close companions. God had a special relationship with man. After Adam and Eve sinned, all they could look forward to is returning to dust. So, because they sinned, because they gave in to temptation, they were brought low. Now, fast forward all the way to Christ's time. Jesus was born without sin. Because of this, he shouldn't have been humbled the way Adam and Eve were, but he suffered for our sake. The devil tempted him 3 times. With what did he tempt Jesus? 1. Free food. 2. Protection. 3. Honor and glory. All the things that God had taken away. But unlike Eve, who had said, I'm going to do what's best for me, Jesus did what was best for God and what was best for us. How do you handle a struggle of willpower? What was the last time you had a tough time deciding between what you thought was best for you and what was God's desire? This is an example of how to read Old Testament scriptures with a Catholic lens. Next week, try it yourself. See how the first and second readings tie into the Gospel. Hey, have people around you been commenting about how early Lent is starting this year? Well, maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but the facts are these. Lent comes 40 days before Easter, and Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox, or the first day of spring. So this year, Easter is the earliest that it can be, which means Lent begins as early as it possibly can, and next year, Easter will be almost as late as it possibly can be. So start buying your peeps now. So you think you might be interested in joining the MassTube project? Well, I sure hope so. Our workshops are from 4 to 6 on Wednesday afternoons in the Youth Ministry office, so stop by if you'd like to participate. And don't forget, there's no point in being Catholic if you don't know what's going on. Have a great week, and God bless.